How are you?
Lovely.
All right?
I'm great. Thanks for coming on.
Mm.
It's been a long time since we chatted.
I know. Scary.
But
Scary.
welcome to a look behind the post with my little baby.
You've done really well with it. It's going really, really well. Really well.
Surprisingly, but for sure anyway. So what's new with you?
All sorts. Everything's changed. Back from Italy, settled in a new house, gone back to work, kids are settled in school, moving house. So, yeah, couldn't be more different, really.
Yeah. Do you miss it? You miss Italy?
Yeah, no. I mean, I do. I miss it massively in some ways, but I was ready to come home. So we'd had a really, really good time there, and we rent an apartment over there, so we go back all the time. Going back in 2 weeks, so we did 2 weeks out there at Christmas, and then we're back out there for half term, probably back out there for Easter and the summer. So we
So
still get plenty of time over there.
you'll get to do some more skiing.
Oh yeah, skiing in 2 weeks. Can't wait. And they
Yeah.
just had an absolute massive snow as well. So yeah, so it's all good.
You even look excited when you say that. They
I
have
can't
massive.
wait. I know. I was watching on Facebook. I was watching the post yesterday, and my friends were messaging me, and they literally they had over a meter up there. So I mean, it was people were sending me videos of them skiing through the town centre, and I was like, "Get me out there now! I want to go! I want to go right now!"
And have the kids settled back in?
They have, yeah. I mean, they miss Italy. They were used to being out there, but they were looking. They like to be. I think it's nice for them to be back and closer to family. And we're still 3 hours away from family because we're military, so we've been posted back 3.5 hours away from home. But I mean, that's still easier to get to see people than jumping on a plane. So yeah, they're enjoying it. It's a new adventure. They're always up for a new adventure. We've brought them up to be fairly adventurous, so they're always doing something different.
Yeah, well, they always look like they're having fun.
Yeah, yeah, and they're a real pair as well. I've got a cricketer, so my little boy, he's off today. He's training up in Manchester. He's playing for Lancs Development Squad. He's off up there netting this morning. My little girl's all into performing arts, so she's got a show this afternoon. So they're always off doing stuff. So it's crazy trying to keep up with them.
Oh, so do they know like what you do?
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
So my kids have, right from being little, when Ashton was born, I was a PA to a couple of directors, and it was crazy because, like I say, my husband's military, so I opened a baby shop, and I had that for 4 years, 5 years, until the economic crash when everything went crazy. It wasn't really viable. It ended up being cost plus 10 basis because of all the box shifters. They all moved online, so I closed that and went to work for a different company. But when I moved out to Italy, they'd always been used to mum working. And then suddenly, when it was really tricky for me to get a job because Italian wasn't my first language, and I'm a project manager, so it's really, really difficult to manage any kind of large projects when English isn't, when English is the second language. Although that is a business language out there, they want you to be bilingual. So when we moved out to Italy, after about a year, I was bored. I was going up the walls. I was absolutely crazy. So they've both watched the whole journey unfold. Really, they've been there, hanging their nose over my shoulder when I've been doing Hangouts and all sorts of things. So my little boy's really interested. He's always absolutely fascinated about the whole process and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, Ashley's the same with me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes she watches these shows more than my other videos now.
Mm-hmm.
But she's at her mom's house, and she's like, I missed you, so I watched your video, which is which is
Oh,
which is weird, but it's nice.
yeah, yeah.
But like, I remember like when I first started, um, like obviously we'd go on these hangouts with like Rob Frazier and Ari Maccabee, and you were
Mm-hmm.
always there. So I just
Mm-hmm.
presumed you'd been around for years. But I think
Nope,
no, nope,
nope.
just found yourself there.
So Ari dragged me in. Ari and Big, literally, one day, I'd been doing some posting on Facebook because I quite like doing the whole creative stuff. So
Yeah.
I'd been doing a few posts and getting a few comments, and they were like, "You should come on. We need more girls. We need to get rid of, it's all too much testosterone." So I jumped on with those guys, and that was it really. Then I was everywhere and doing everything, but I'd actually only been marketing online about 3 or 4 months at that point, maybe not even that long. So I was a bit like rabbit in the headlights, like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness.
Well,
But yeah, I was
I
really,
know all
really
about that.
lucky, really lucky.
Yeah, but you never seemed nervous. None of that ever came across. It was just like you were just always there.
Mm. Yeah, and I think the thing is though that I met the right people and I had a good team. So everybody, all the way along for me, it's all about people. This whole process really isn't necessarily about making vast amounts of money, although don't get me wrong, that would be nice. But it's always been about connecting with people because I'm a people person and I like to talk a lot, obviously. And when when I moved to Italy, if you think about it, so before you move to Italy, you learn those 4 or 5 stock phrases. You get your key phrases in your head, don't you? Hi, my name's Emma. My husband's this. He's working here. Right, the kids are at school. You learn those phrases, and then you move to a new country. And if I move somewhere new in England, and I don't know anybody, I can get my iPad or my Kindle or go and buy a newspaper, and I can go and sit in a coffee shop, and within 10 minutes I can be having a conversation. But when English isn't your first language, it can be quite tricky sometimes because I didn't move into the centre of a city where everybody spoke English. Most people do speak English in Italy and everybody wants to practice. But I moved into a small town where the dialect was Piemontese. So it wasn't always straight Italian that you could understand. And some people had never really, because it was quite rural, they didn't speak vast amounts of English. So those hangouts were a really great way for me to still connect with people.
Yeah,
And this whole thing was a really great way for me to still connect with people because I could sit in my living room and I could still be part of an intelligent conversation. And sometimes all you're desperate for is not that really basic Italian conversation, the weather, the names of the children, the, because you can't have a real, my Italian's okay, but it's not good enough to sit and talk, in the way I'm talking to you. So
yeah,
sometimes, there were times where for me it gave me that connection with real people and let me have a real conversation. So it was a bit of a lifeline to me sometimes in some ways. It was a really, really interesting way to get started because it took some of the fear out of it because it was all about relationships and connections and I think that's why, having had a year out, when I came home and while I was getting settled and readjusting, it's been really nice for me to be able to jump right back into it and almost pick up where I left off. I
yeah,
was expecting it to be a lot tougher, but I think because I spent a lot of time putting in the foundations and built it that way rather than it be sell, sell, sell. It was more about connections and building friendships and helping people. It stood me in good stead. So that's probably one thing I'd advise people to do. Make sure that it's all about connections and building good foundations and concentrating on building it right rather than building it fast, because then
yeah,
it'll always be there, you see.
yeah. Well, I remember going through my phone, just scrolling down, and then Emma Charles, what are you doing posting? You were just back. It was great to see you back.
Well, because we spoke quite a lot before, and so it was. I mean, it's really nice that to pick up friendships again, and because you do get to know people, you do get to chat to people, you do build friendships with people and relationships with people. So it's good. It's always nice to catch up and see what everybody's been doing and how things have been going. But
Yeah,
there are a few people that have completely disappeared.
yeah.
Some great people that have completely disappeared, which has been quite a shock to me. So,
Well, I have to thank you. I've spoke about it on this show before. Oh, rookie mistake. I left my phone on. Um, the very first, for anyone that likes my content or likes this show, you probably need to thank Emma, because Emma got me through my very first hangout where I was absolutely dying. I'd been almost getting sick with nerves. I was on with Mark Crosby and Steve Dordell, And for whatever reason, Google Hangouts wasn't working. So Steve loaded up this a different kind of a software, but the communications inside of it went a bit haywire a few minutes into it. So I ended up passing messages back and forth. It turned out to be very funny, but Emma was texting me the whole way through going, "You're doing fine, just relax." I'm going, "Oh, I think I'll just hang up, I'm out of here."
It was interesting because I remember we'd spoken a few times as well about other Hangout and you were, "I'm not sure I want to do one. I'm not sure. I'll just freeze up. I won't know what to say." No, you'll be fine. You just need to relax and you're just having a conversation. And everything that you can think and say in a Hangout, there are always people who are steps behind you. There are always
Yeah.
people who don't know. So as much as you think you don't know, or you feel uptight, or you feel you're going to make a mistake, or whatever it may be, other people will identify with that. So you can't really mess it up unless I don't know, unless you say something so completely outlandish that everybody ends up hating you because you've got some weird and wonderful views or whatever. But even then, you're going to find people that identify with you. And I've always said, and you say exactly the same thing because we're kind of on the same page, but you find your tribe, the people that you identify with and the people that you're going to do business with, make friendships with, that you're going to interact with. They're people that kind of come from the same sort of place that you come from, and they've got the same sort of thought processes and mindsets and all of that sort of thing anyway. So we all end up kind of put together, with the people we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
but I do
don't.
remember doing that. It was really funny. It was
Oh,
really interesting. Just breathe, it'll be fine.
yeah. And it's funny now because even like when we were talking with Mark about it, and I was like, remember I said I'm never going to do a video. I'm not doing any of this stuff. I'm just going to stay in the background. And now I'm
Yeah.
doing this, but I don't think about it anymore. I don't even plan what I'm going to say. I just press go and see what happens.
See, my problem's always been, and I think other people will probably identify, I think you go two ways. You either clam up and say nothing, but I'm a nervous talker, and the more nervous I am, the faster I talk, and I don't stop for breath. I get really fast and I just go because I just want to get it all out. Don't want to forget what I was going to say. And I think that's one thing that I have always tried to manage because I'm really conscious of it. And that's not always great when there's either lots of people on or, or you can end up looking a bit crazy. But I would hope sometimes people know it's because I'm passionate and excited, and I really get,
Yeah,
I like what I do.
you've never come across crazy though.
I am a little bit crazy, let's face it. I'm not entirely sane and I don't think any of us are. I don't think you can do this if you're entirely sane and normal. I mean, it's
No, well,
you can have a little bit of kookiness.
I don't think you can stick around if you don't have spark.
I think the other thing is you've got to find the parts that you enjoy as well. I always say you've got to find the fun in the business. You've got to find the bit that you end up doing, whether that be, creating images or posts on social media, whether it's the videos, whether it's putting together great sales funnels. We all have our own, writing email sequences. Everybody finds their bit, and you have to do all of the elements, or at least the majority of the elements. You perhaps don't have to do everything because you can always find people that can do the other parts of it. But you do have to find at least a major part of it that you enjoy, so
Yeah,
that you've got some real strong foundation to start with and build on, and that's really the key thing to do, to kind of find the bit that you love and find the fun in that, so that you can concentrate on getting really good at that bit and it doesn't feel like a chore. And then maybe some of the bits that do feel a little like a chore, you can tag on the back of it so that you're still enjoying what you're doing, because you can't really succeed if you're just going out and doing those horrid crazy posts that we all get, the terrible spammy ones, or the emails or the videos that are just buy my product. It doesn't work like that.
yeah, yeah. They're the worst in your messenger. I don't even reply to them anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They just drive you nuts. I've read your profile. Are you interested in Bitcoin? And then dun, 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 dun. You didn't read my profile.
Yeah. Hello. Hi. Hello. Wavy face. Like,
Wave.
I don't know. I think it's interesting, and I think the longer that you spend in this environment, you have to get savvy. You learn to spot the posts that are spam. You learn to spot the people that are not great to be around. I mean, I've been going through an exercise of going through my Facebook friends and taking out, you know, inactive ones or ones that aren't really good for me, because I want to see that when I look down my feeds, or when I look down anything that I'm doing, whether it be my email list, no matter what it is, I want to get value out of it. I want to have something in common with the people I'm connecting with. So I'm making sure that, because time's quite precious for me at the minute, I'm making sure that the time that I can spend is really valuable quality time, rather than trying to sort out drivel or reading rubbish or watching rubbish or whatever it may be. So that's really important for me at the minute, because time's quite precious at the minute. So but you learn, that comes with experience. You kind of you find your feet, don't you, and you learn what to look for and what not to look for.
Yeah, I think you can really tell when you've been around a while just by the profile picture. They don't even need to send you a message. You just see that little circle and you go,
Yeah,
nope.
yeah, yeah.
There's a certain
But
style.
I think we all make the mistake at the beginning, though. Everybody thinks it's about getting 5,000 friends and as many people following you as possible. So everybody that adds you, you accept them. And then after, you know, after a while, you go, oh, why did I do that? That means all I've got to do now is just go back out and sort out the rubbish. And it takes forever. You know, it takes a long time then to go back through and clean things up. So you just have to, I think you just have to be a little bit cautious and make sure you're connecting with the right kinds of people, and as you would at home, you know, a friendship group, you surround yourself with the people that are going to be valuable to you, and you're going to be valuable too, hopefully. So
Yeah, I actually do it in my newsfeed. So as I'm going along, I'm like, I have no idea who that person is, and I'll check through it and go, nope, bye.
Yeah.
Because I have links under videos and stuff back to Facebook, and you don't know if something is a genuine inquiry or not. Generally, I will accept most people, but then I'll just go through and go, nope, 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 nope.
Yeah,
because it's not worth
it's funny though, isn't it? It's funny how with a little experience, you kind of, things change as your business develops, and I think most people who get into this also at the same time do a lot of personal development. So we read books and watch videos and have conversations, and there's an awful lot of internal work that goes on as well. So the Emma Charles that started this journey 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, is a completely different Emma Charles to the Emma Charles now. And I always find that really interesting, because even people that I connected with and spoke to at the beginning of the process, maybe now not so much so, because you find yourself going down different routes and different paths, and as I say, the self-development side kind of goes hand in hand. So it's really interesting to watch people change and move on, and however they're going to develop and end up.
Yeah.
Quite an
Well,
interesting
hopefully
process.
people improve over time. Well, I'd hope I've improved over time. I'm sure you looking from the outside in, and I know you said like you enjoyed the videos and stuff like the other
I'm
day.
so proud of you. You've done so incredibly well. So incredibly well.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have. I don't do well with compliments, but because you don't know, some people you just feel are a little bit fake, or they don't know you enough. But because it was you that said that to me, and obviously you see me from the
Oh, I'd
very
tell you. You know,
start.
I'd tell you. I'd message you and I'd be like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and it's nice. It's nice coming from you because you were there at the beginning. But when some random person just says, "Oh, you know, you're doing great," you're like, well, you don't know. This is the first video you've ever seen.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's the really nice thing as well. Sometimes when you see when you do see the entire journey, like when you do, especially people that you've met along the way that could barely, well, didn't know anything about anything when they first started
Well,
online, and just thought it was no, but you know, people go, oh, it'd be a great idea to do that, I'll have a go at that, and not really realizing how much time and effort you have to invest in it, because you really do have to kind of put yourself right out there, expose yourself, expose the kind of, not literally, don't anybody go exposing yourself on Facebook or YouTube. You'll be banned. They'll be like, that Emma Charles, I got
yeah.
banned.
Emma's top tip: expose yourself.
But you really have to put yourself out there, and you have to let people see who you are and what you're about, and that can be quite scary. That can be quite choosing what kind of route you're going to pursue, how you're going to, you know, who you connect with and how you connect and which medium and all of that stuff. You really do have to put yourself out there, and people come knowing absolutely nothing really about the industry, but just either find themselves in a situation and want to make some money quickly, or they don't like the situation they're in, and it's not that they've got to make money quickly, it's that they are just interested and keen to explore because they've met somebody and had a conversation or seen something. So there's lots of different routes into it as well, and it's always interesting understanding how people arrived into the business and then watching them develop from the point at which they've arrived at. But I find it fascinating. I find it really, really fascinating.
Yeah, me too. It's people's stories that like, I'm enjoying this because I'm getting to every week I'm getting a new story, you know, and it's not just, you know, a Facebook post and you're going, I join my business. You like the guys that I've been on the show with, I've been much more close to on even on Facebook after the shows than I would have been before.
I mean, I'm relatively lucky, really, because as I say, my husband's got a stable job. I'm project manager. I earn really good money. For me, it's not always been, you know, it's not always been about the money. It's been, like I say, a lot of the time for me, it's been about connections and relationships and enjoying what I'm doing. And I've always been interested and curious and about different things. And I think that Matt, my husband, has got 4 or 5 years left in the military, and then he's going to be retired. And now the end game really is, well, what's next? Do I really want to be full-time employed, crazy, or do I want to make it so that I can be at home, and if we decide to go off somewhere or do something, and we may end up back on that expat cycle, you know, with Matt's job. It's a very real possibility that we could go somewhere again, and I don't ever want to be in the position where
We have to start over.
I'm starting it right over. Yeah, it was definitely time for me to come back. I'd missed it. I'd missed people. I'd missed the whole process, because I just really enjoy the process. I really enjoy the whole thing about it, how involved you are, how, you know, how, although you're not setting up a business as in, you know, making and manufacturing a product or whatever, you're still very much involved in choosing a product, and then the portrayal of that, how you put it across there and how you build your own portfolio of products. And I find it really fascinating, putting those together, building a profile, making sure that you're building it in the right way, so that if something happens that's unexpected, you've still, you know, you're still strong enough to be able to survive. I find the whole thing really, really interesting. So it was definitely time for me to come back. And I think if I'd left it much longer, I would either have been so engrossed in work that I just wouldn't have had time for it, or I would have let it go for so long that there would have been no way to easily come back. And I think that, yeah, like I say, sometimes just in life there's a path, isn't there? I think sometimes, and you end up making a decision and coming back to something and it being the perfect time. And it would appear that that's the way, because like I say, I've been really lucky. It's been relatively easy to come back to. So
yeah, well, I took a break last year, not intended. I didn't intend it to be a break, but I ended up kind of disappearing for about 3.5 months. I was having these mad panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and I just ended up being really quiet because if I couldn't post anything positive, I just didn't want to post. So I just stayed quiet. I'd do the odd little post or message to the team, but that'd be it. And I think if I was ever going to walk away, like it would have been then, because I was talking with Mark and I was like, look, people aren't going to remember me. They're not. They'd be like, who is this guy? Like, you know, I don't want to start over. But it was a bit like yourself. It was relatively easy after maybe 3 or 4 days of being a little bit consistent. You know, everything started picking back up.
But again, I think it is that thing of making sure you build it right, because if you've done the basics, if you've done the, you know, built relationships and spoken to people, we're really lucky we've got a really strong group. You know, all of that stuff helps, doesn't it? Because when you have kind of got yourself a little community, and I'm part of several little communities, and I talk to Rob a lot. I get on really well with Rob Fraser. I'm part of his community, and mark, obviously. So I've been really, really lucky that I've been right place, right time, right community. And we're all strong enough that if somebody does have a little hiatus, you can come back to it because
You've
you
got
know,
that
you've
support.
really connected with people. Yeah. Yeah. So it's good. It's
Yeah,
good.
well, I think you're a little bit like me, and I think, well, offline is probably the same. There can be all these little clicks, and they very seldom cross. But I think I can go in between any of them,
Mm,
and I'll fit in. And I think you're
mm,
very similar, but I'm like that offline as well.
mm.
But some people just have to stick to their little click, and they don't want to look outside it, or. But you have to be able to move around.
You do. And that's how, I mean, I read some fantastic books and listen to some amazing audios. And I mean, I would say quite a lot of the stuff that I've done and learned and listened to has been through Rob, because Rob will, you know, put out posts, or I'll message Rob and have a chat with him. And Rob's quite good with, you know, books. And so if you don't go outside of your little area, you know, you get stuck. And nobody needs to get stuck.
Yeah,
Everybody, basically everybody who's online and doing online marketing are trying to break out of their rut. That's, you know, they've got themselves in a rut, and online marketing, usually that's the trigger. They want to get out of the rut.
yeah,
So why then go into an online marketing space and
and
put
get
yourself
stuck in
in
a rut.
another rut? Why would you do it, you know?
Yeah,
So no, I think you do have to expose yourself to different people and put yourself in different situations, because otherwise you just get boxed in, and then that's not going to help anybody. So
yeah, big time. But we're very lucky with the people we have around us,
mm-hmm.
and it just continues to grow.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is as well that we've been quite. I think when we came in, there was a particular period of time where there were lots of programs. People would really jump in from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another. There was, you know, a culture of just bounce, 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 and I found that really useful for me, because it gave me a really good lesson in having a little bit of focus and not necessarily just bouncing along from one thing to another, because
Yeah,
that's the fastest way to fail. You
yeah,
have you really do have to do some due diligence. You have to make choices based on your own kind of perception. And I know we're having issues with some of our programs at the moment, but that background makes you a little more cautious about just jumping into something else. You've got to kind of think about it and make sure it's right, because it's not worth your reputation. It's not worth the relationships you build, and it's not worth your bank balance, because you end up having to pay for things over and over and over and over
yeah,
and over again,
yeah.
and the associated costs that go with that. So
But I think it's also good for if new people can just stay focused at one thing until it's paying you. Because realistically, like even when I came in, I remember trying to think I need to keep up with all these guys, and you can't keep up with the guys that are like the top leaders. They can promote something every second
mhm,
week or
mhm,
every week if they want,
mhm,
and they'll still do well because they have the following, they have the funds. But the average person won't get traction if they just keep jumping,
mhm,
because
yeah.
you need to get known that, oh, that's the future net guy, or that's the guy that does that thing.
Mhm.
If you're just
And
jumping all the time.
you get yourself so confused, because there's no way, you can't learn either. You can't learn the skill sets that you need to learn if you can't settle to anything,
Yeah,
because you'll constantly be, you know, learning the new modules, trying to build a sales page. Oh no, I'm building another one this week. Well, I don't know whether the first one worked. I didn't learn any lessons from it. I don't know, you know, do I send there's no physical way that you can learn the lessons and that you can do the analytics that you need to do. You need to be good at one part before you can roll it out to other things and consider
yeah,
other things. Otherwise, you just get yourself in a pickle and you spend an absolute fortune, and then you drop off and become inactive, and then you've not helped yourself or anybody else. So
yeah.
you've
But
just got
that's
to kind of.
I think if people really listen to the words like that these top guys are saying in their hangouts, where they're saying, they can be there with the owner of the company and going through it, but they'll always say my guy who builds the funnels. They're not doing it themselves,
Mhm,
so they're
mhm,
just focused on getting you there and
mhm,
to hit that button. Everything else they're paying someone else to
mhm,
take care of. And but people just go, no, he does it all. They
mhm.
don't.
And the thing is, as well, if you're sending traffic and all the things that go with it. Because when you first start, you know, people do, they try different traffic sources, and they, you know, they start building their YouTube channel, and they start their online media presence, and they do all of these things. But if you've not got any consistency there, how do you know what's working and what isn't? How are you, you know, how are you refining your craft? How are you learning the basics of anything? Because even if you've got a ready-made funnel for you, even if you've got whatever it may be, there's still a certain amount on you of responsibility on you to look at what you're putting into the top in order to, you know, to have anything come out of the bottom. So if you're not doing that work in, you know, in making sure that what you've got is working, and you're picking, you know, you've got the right lead capture pages and on all the other bits, and you're going to the right traffic source, if you're just pepper spraying 20 different things,
Yeah,
you've got no
the
chance.
shotgun method.
You've just got no chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky, but it, like I say, it all comes with experience, doesn't it? And that's the nice thing, I think, that that there are quite, you know, there are people out there, some really decent people that do tell the truth, and it's not just about the latest bouncy shiny thing. It's, you know, it's about making sure that people are not being scammed, and that they're going into it with the right attitude, and they're learning the right things, and they're prepared for it. Because it's no good just pretending that it's simple and easy.
No, because
You
it
have to
isn't.
work at it. You've got to, you know, it's completely doable for anybody, but you do have to put some effort in. It's not
Yeah.
fair to say that you could just do it in 5 minutes and be earning, you know, whatever tomorrow. That's not how it works. It's not how
Yeah,
it
yeah.
happens.
I just started. I'm buying a jet next week.
Yeah.
I'm going jet.
Oh, look at his Ferrari. Yeah, I'll have two of those, one in red and one in green. No,
Yeah.
not happening.
I don't like that fake, the Instagram kind of fake side of it. I don't like that. Much rather just be real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
And that's the
get a bit more respect for that too, I think.
thing. Yeah, that's the thing. I think people would rather you tell them the truth and help them get to where they need to be, and help them to know what to do, than just to, you know, assume that they're going to be rich in a week's time. Because the problem is, especially if you've got somebody that's just that is just saying, you know, join now and you can be, you know, make your first commission in 3.5 seconds or whatever it may be. Well, you know, you see
Yeah.
it, you
Yep.
see the
Yeah.
post. And I think the problem is then, if somebody buys into that, the chances are then they can't speak to the person, or have any kind of follow up with that, and they don't actually know what to do. They don't know the steps, because then that doesn't happen. They don't make their first commission in, you know,
3
a minute and
seconds.
a half or 3.5
Yeah.
seconds, but they don't know the next steps to take, because nobody's given them that. So at least if you're honest and upfront, you can give them the information about how to progress and get to where they need to be, so that it may not be in 3 seconds, and it may not be 3.5 grand in 3 seconds, but they will be making something if they put the groundwork in, you know, in a realistic time frame. So it's just being honest.
Do you remember your first commission?
No, sorry, I don't. I don't. Because I'm not even kidding you. When I was in Italy, that really wasn't my focus. I'm not even joking when I say the whole thing for me was the engagement. It was talking to people. It was, you know, I couldn't even tell you. It was more than likely Power Lead System, I would say it would be,
Yeah,
because
mine was.
that's always been the basis of my. I remember, I do remember the first time I got an email telling me I'd missed out on a commission.
Oh, really? You weren't happy.
No, no. When you very first join and you do, and you've not, you know, you get your nice little email saying you would have made a button. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. You've
man,
missed a $400 commission.
get rid. They're the killers. They're the frustrating bits. But
Yeah,
it's like anything, you have to build it up, and it takes time. You can't. Don't people, you know, the one thing that does really annoy me is when people say, go in as hard as you can go, max out your credit cards, buy everything. No, you can't do
yeah.
that.
That's the
You
worst
do
thing
what
you
you
can
can
do.
do. Don't get yourself in a pickle. You take your own pace. Everybody's got their own journey. Everybody do it at their own, you know, can do it at their own speed and time. But the very worst thing you can do is get yourself in a pickle over it, because it's
Yeah,
too easy to do. And I see too many times people saying, you know, got to buy everything. You've got to go in at X, Y, and Z. You've got to buy this. You've got to buy that. You've got to do this. And I just think, gosh, there's some vulnerable people out there.
Yeah.
It's not the best way.
Well,
Not the best way to
the
do
thing
it.
is, if you believe that what you're promoting is going to be around, then there's no rush to get everything.
No.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a certain level you need to get to lock a position in or something like that, but after that, there's no panic. There shouldn't be a panic.
No, and the thing is, with a bit of work and a bit of consistency and a bit of learning what you can learn, you can make the money to be able to get to those next levels and progress. And particularly because, especially with some of the educational things, you don't want to buy it all in one go anyway, because you need to actually work through what you're buying and learn what you're buying. So if you don't have the time to learn as you're going along, it all becomes a bit of a farce anyway. So you just have to take time.
If you can't go through the first section of something and understand it, then the second half is lost on you anyway.
Yeah, it's true. Very true. But there we go. That was my thought for the day. That's internet marketing according to Emma.
I'm going to call the show that very one thing.
It's so funny. I don't know. I think because, like I say, because you watch for a few years and you do see people bouncing in and out, and you do see some of the pitfalls, and you just kind of you either want to shake people or you want to warn people, because you've got to go into it with the right mindset, and you've got to go into it with a bit of a plan of what you're going to do and how you're going to approach it and how you're going to tackle it, and that's the way that you're going to get success. So
yeah, I found myself lately making little posts warning people about certain things, just because it would just bug me for a second, and once I post, I forget about it. But obviously, when you're around a while, you've seen certain people like scamming companies and stuff, and they'll just set up another one. But new people don't know that history, so I've just found myself.
And it's always the same people who have done it multiple times, and it makes me rage. It makes me rage. I write some really angry posts and then don't post them, delete them, But I do get it. That rattles me. It makes me cross too.
Yeah, well, I was pitched this thing. Well, I actually woke up to about 5 of the same pitch, and I actually wrote back to one of them saying, "Are you all using the same script?" Like, because they were all the same. And I just Googled the name of the company, and I seen who was involved, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Because you don't want anyone to have that. I know it happens to everyone somewhere along the line, but it shouldn't. And that's it. It bugs me.
And sometimes you do have to have a learning curve, and there are things that come. I mean, no path is straight. Everybody has their twists and turns. There are things you have to go through and learn, and kind of. If it was too easy, everybody would love it to be easy, but once you did get to that first bump, you would just fall down, wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? If in your very first attempt, you'd hit a success, and then something happened and you had to start again, you've learned nothing along the way, because the chances of that happening twice are very, very, very rare. So we do all need to have those learning experiences. It's a part and parcel of life, and a part and parcel of the process. But I think where people can be warned, especially where it's serial scammers, and especially where they have an MO and they do the same thing over and over and over, and it's never your £25 programs, is it?
No.
If they're going to scam somebody, they're really going to take them for a ride.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me too. It really does. So I'm with you on that one.
Well, I'll start making those posts more often, and start tagging in. Emma, what do you think of this?
Oh gosh, it'll be like a rant-a-thon.
Yeah. Well, it might be needed in some cases. It might be needed. But yeah, you want to shake some people. But, do you know this? Actually, I was talking to someone about this the other day, because after I made that post, someone messaged me, and they're like, like that guy pretty much stole X from. Well, I won't go into the companies, but I was like, but what happens when this new company has an event? I was like, if it was me, I would turn up to that event and I would strangle him. So I'll be watching the company just to see if he actually turns up to the event and what happens.
Yeah. No, you don't know how some of these people dare, do you? I mean, everybody can have a situation where they end up in in a business and they promote it with the best of intentions, or they're involved, and something goes wrong. That, that's life and that happens, and I feel dreadfully for people when that happens. But when it's somebody who persistently and consistently scams in exactly the same way, uses the same methods, uses the same pitch to the same people. I mean, you do get to a point where people have done the same thing 2 or 3 or 4 times, and you're like, wow, that's should have learned your lesson, really, shouldn't you?
Yeah. I know, on especially on the third time, if that same guy called you and went, I've got it this time, I've nailed it, go away.
Yeah, I don't know. All of those kind of posts get the best engagement sometimes, though, because people go crazy on them, absolutely crackerjack. And sometimes there are the odd occasion where you just sit and watch it unfold, and you're like,
Yeah,
all kinds of wow.
Normally I wouldn't get involved. Normally I'm quite happy to stay on the sidelines, but just sometimes you need to just I'd rather put out some positive things.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I if you look down there's very rarely that I rant or say, negative things. I think life's too short, and I think a lot of the time that you get back what you put out there anyway. So I think, I don't want to be filling my own world with junk. I don't want to be surrounded by junky people. And if people want to be arguing and fighting and saying X, Y, and Z, then just let them get on with it, because I don't need them in my space, So yeah, a lot of the time that you tend to find mine's quite a happy clappy page. It's quite positive.
Yeah, I like your posts. But mine, I think my Facebook goes a bit weird, because once I go on nights, I'm no good to anyone. I'm just a zombie. The only thing that good will ever come out will probably be this show on a Monday, and then the rest of the week I'm just a zombie trying to get through the days.
When you're on your night, when you're on days, do a couple of fallback posts. When you've got 5 minutes, do yourself a couple of posts in the background so that you've got them there and ready to go.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Or go back into some of I've been recycling a few of my older ones, looking back and, right from the beginning, when I've spent a lot of time on it, going in and rewording the content. But some of the images take me quite a lot of time to create and manipulate and mess about with. So I have found sometimes I've gone back and picked some of the ones that I know have had really good engagement a few years ago. I've gone back and retweaked those and readjusted the message. But there's ways and means to keep it current without it being too onerous.
Yeah.
To just
I've been trying to use lives more. So when I don't have time, I just press live and blah blah blah. I don't know what
I think I'm gonna do when I get 10 minutes. I'm gonna do some social media training. I think put a bit out there in how to write posts and how to create images, because I'm not sure that everybody's aware of some of the software you can just get on your smartphone that you can you can knock things up reasonably easily and quickly, and you don't have to be paying anybody to do it or spending hours. I quite often, if I'm sat on a train or something going somewhere, and I've got 5 minutes spare, or I'm sat in the car, I'll be fiddling about. And because you can take your phone anywhere now, you can do anything from anywhere, can't you, when you've just got 5 minutes. So some of it's about just organizing time efficiently so that you're prepared, so that if everything does go crazy, you've got something in the bag just to pop something out there.
So will you make a return to YouTube?
Maybe. I've got to be a little bit careful now, though, because of my job. So I've got to be a little bit careful about just what I do and how much I do and where I go, and not because of the job necessarily, but with working and with just everything. I've just got to be careful about what I put out there, because I'm a project manager, and the first place they do go to is YouTube, and sometimes it can get very muddy and very grey, and I don't want what I do online, network marketing, to affect my career as well, because I quite like the fact that at the moment I've got both in tandem. I can work both quite nicely. Neither one impacts the other or affects the other, and I would hate to get to a point where my internet marketing would affect that side of it, because it's nice also to just be able to do some consultancy roles or whatever. So we shall see. I'm sure I'll end up jumping back into it eventually. Can't resist the lure, can you? It becomes too tempting to do it.
But no, but you're very good at Facebook. I've especially over the last few months, I've enjoyed YouTube more than I do Facebook, because there's no there's literally no drama. You make your own content and you put it there, and if people find it and enjoy it, good things happen. If not, you just keep making.
See, I quite like doing. I quite like keeping my YouTube quite low profile, but still being able to record things and post them onto my, post them onto Facebook or whatever. We'll see. I'm just enjoying being back at the minute, and I'm still finding my feet with timing. With time, being able to squeeze everything in and do everything and make sure I do everything well. Because the last thing I'd want to do is to be trying to fit everything in 2 minutes and making garbage. I don't think there's any point in making garbage. It's either got to be worthwhile and have some content and be useful, or there's just no value for me. So yeah, it's timing issues for me at the minute.
Yeah, you can publish, leave it unlisted, and you can still send it to people. So if you made your training, you can still, no one will be able to search it or find it, but you can physically send it to someone. So that might help your training.
Yeah, I think that probably would be a good way to go for me.
Why am I telling you that? You know this stuff. Why am I telling you? You probably told me that like years ago.
It's good though, because the thing is as well, I think in this industry, because there's such a vast array of information, and there's so much that you have to learn about, so much that you kind of know about. Sometimes you forget what you know, and you need a poke and a reminder anyway, because we learn a lot of stuff in this industry. I mean, you think about the journey you've been on and all of the things, all of the training you've done, all of the pieces you've put into place. And you do have to acquire a lot of knowledge. You can do it without the knowledge, but you acquire it as you go along.
Yeah.
Don't you? So by the time you've been doing it a while, my poor little brain's full.
I know. I didn't have much to start with, so mine filled up quick.
I don't know. It's good time.
If you can't laugh at yourself, there's no point.
Well, I think that's probably one reason why we've all, we do reasonably well, because we can laugh at ourselves and not take ourselves too seriously. And, I think people can probably identify as well with the fact that we've made every mistake. We've made every mistake time and time and time again. So
yeah, but it's saying that it's okay to make a mistake. Just it happens. It's you do see some people, and they want to, if they've made a mistake, they want to cover it up as fast as possible. It's way easier just to say, oh, I did it like this, but it actually works like this. Or if someone's too serious, have you heard the new business is coming and you should join me? Like that's never going to work. Well, it wouldn't work for me.
No, well, you're more likely to find me with a glass of wine in my hand doing post than anything else. I mean,
well, it's just juice for me. I don't drink. So I think if I probably smelled a glass of wine, I'd probably fall over.
It's all like Italian stuff. We bought back 350 bottles of wine, and I'm not entirely sure there's that many left.
That's the weekend sorted.
I think we're definitely ready for a top up, though. That's the problem. Never mind. Mind we go to Italy in a couple of weeks. Did I mention that? We go to Italy in a couple of weeks.
Oh, are you going skiing?
Yeah, maybe.
Have you ever
Maybe
been
I'll get
before?
some new mountaintop posts. That should be where I do my first Facebook lives from, at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Did some cracking ones up there.
You'll have to keep those big glasses on, though.
But that was always the great thing. I could put my visor down and I could just sit and talk and not really worry about it. It's all good.
Oh, I'm sure you don't need to worry about how you look or anything like that.
I don't know. You have enough Facebook posts when you have been on a wine tour or whatever, and the next day you wake up and you think, I'm supposed to be doing a hangout today. Should we pretend that the camera's broken? Yes, do that.
Yeah. I think I've definitely realized over the last few months that people don't care what you look like. They just don't. People look at the state of this. People come in and watch the show. They don't care how you look, how you sound. It's you thinking that I look funny or I sound funny. It's only in your head. No one else cares.
As a girl, you'd be surprised, because I don't really wear makeup. I'm not really that bothered. And when I I did some Hangouts, and I'd moved. It was when I first moved back from Italy to the UK, and my hair was very blonde at one point when I was in Italy, very blonde. We called it the expat tiger stripe, because you'd go to the hairdressers, and every time they'd put a bit more blonde in, and it was this particular shade, and it was like so. By the time you'd been there a few months, it was like Barbie blonde, but it was the expat tiger stripe anyway. And then I came home and I went back to this colour, and the amount of messages, "You've changed your hair colour," and I was like, "Oh,
What have you
wow,
done?
people really did notice, huh?" And you don't, but when you do it, you don't even think about it. I mean, it's not something I necessarily think about, but
Oh,
people do. They
'cause
still comment and message, and
I used to
it's
think about
bizarre.
it all the time because, you know, you'd record a video and then as you were doing the edit, I'd be like, look at the state of me. What? I sound ridiculous. But you know, you still need to put it out. But
It's the still, the still. It's always that face where you kind of,
yeah,
oh, and it always picks. It always picks that picture. Always. The amount of times I've looked down my feed and I've been like, wow, Emma, because
yeah.
it picks that really twisted, screwed up face. But hey, no, such is the joys of being an online marketer.
Yeah. No, it's fun though.
It is fun. Yeah,
But I
it's
think when I do a video now, I literally, because I'll struggle at just making it at the start and probably the end. So I just snip off the two ends where I know I started okay and where I finished okay. I don't watch the rest of it. And I
fun.
put my intro on and the outro, and that's it.
Yours look really slick. They do look really good.
No, I think it could be better. They can always be better.
See, I'm not very techie like that. It would be, no, I don't know. I probably could if I put my mind to it, and you
But
know.
you mean to put an outro on?
Yeah, but yeah, sitting down and faffing with things, and you know,
It takes 2 seconds. Really, it
mm,
does.
I might have to ask you to show me how then.
Yeah, anytime.
Awesome. Okay,
We'll do it. We'll do it live.
yes, let's do
No,
that.
we won't. No, live. We'll work up to lives.
Right, well, I am going to go because I have got to go and pick Fratlands up. In fact, I've got the husband to drop my little girl off, and she's got a show this afternoon. So she's got 2 solos, so it's all very exciting. She's all mad as a box of frogs. And then on Monday, she goes to France on a school trip. So this weekend is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I
insane.
knew you were tight for time, but I'm so happy you came on.
Oh, I'm really, really glad you asked me. It's been a
No
blast. Thank you. Very much
worries.
appreciated. It's been good. Really good.
No, anytime. Just jump on. Literally anytime. If you just want to do a random one, just message me.
Okay. And I think I'm going to try and jump on some of the Yellow Brick Road stuff a little bit more as well, because Mark keeps
Yeah.
saying, come on if you like, come on. But I'm always really worried about just gate crashing everybody else's. I'm like, oh,
No.
come on. Yes. Oh, God, it's that Emma bloody Charles again. Can't you just bugger off,
I think Yellow Brick Road is somewhere where everyone's
Mm,
always welcome. I found
mm,
because even like every week we'll put it. It'll be in the Facebook group saying who wants to come on.
mm.
You know,
It's
come
really
on.
nice. It's nice to have fun.
It's
People
only
should do it. Everybody needs to do it. It's a great way to start,
yeah.
to get comfortable doing it.
Well, I think if people had a choice to look at myself, Matt, or Mark, or you, I think you might win.
Depends how many glasses of wine I've had the night before. If I've got hangover face on, all that weird twisted Facebook still face, because nobody wants to see that.
Well, I promise I'll do a good job on the thumbnail for this. Don't worry. This will be one of them just for a joke.
You're going to be going down my profile page now just to see how many weird twisted faces.
Yeah. Actually, I might put a little montage in at the end here.
Yeah.
No, I won't. All right, guys, I'm going to leave some links below the video to get back in touch with Emma, or to follow along with Emma's journey. She's an absolute incredible lady. She's helped me. I literally couldn't. I can't put into words how much Emma has helped me over the years. So do follow along. Nothing but pure value. She's a good girl to know. All right, guys, and I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next week on A Look Behind the Post. Emma, thanks so much for coming on again.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast. It's been really good. Thank you.
No worries.